Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to fly from California to be here. The Maverick series at UT Arlington provides a forum for today's brightest minds to examine the multitude of issues facing our only home, this earth. These speakers not only inform, educate, and propose innovative solutions, but a few, like today's speaker, make bold, long-term predictions that will impact our young planet. Dr. Michio Kaku is a renowned figure in science today, not only working on Einstein's unified field theory, but developer of string field theory. But most important, he's a great communicator through books and television on the important but difficult issues for the rest of us. As a UTA alum who dropped out of physics and took an easier major of electrical engineering, I'm thrilled and humbled to be asked to introduce today's speaker, whom until now I had only seen on television and in the books. When I graduated in '75, most of the UTA's students were not even conceived. UTA had 5,000 students. The local gas price, I remember, was 29 cents. Hardly any research was done. Motorola was just granted a patent on mobile devices, cell phones. And just like today, parking was an issue. My search for a job with no experience, a difficult name, nearest relative living in the UK, and a funny accent was no help. But most important, I was also missing a card, and it was not a credit card. Can you guys guess what kind of card I'm talking about? The green card. So like so many young people in this young country's history, I loaded my Volkswagen and drove west till I could drive no more, and I ended up in Southern California. That's where I met two other Asian immigrant engineers, and three of us would keep talking about what to do next besides our job. That's where we were fortunate to start a computer company called AST. With luck and hard work and so many good people, and the market opportunity was able to grow to a Fortune 500 with offices in 40 countries. While I learned a lot in that experience, something interesting I was just wrote down is that one of my partners, Albert, did not care for smoking. So since 1980, all our offices were no smoking. We'll always have a little room in every office, every factory around the world where people could go smoke. So even as a business, we took a social position, and today all of us can travel around the world. When America took the lead in no smoking, you can travel around the world. So I look at business as a source of bringing other changes, and our little company was a humble example. In the process of building that company, I was very fortunate to serve President Clinton in his Export Advisory Council, travel with 3 different secretaries of commerce to India and China, Indonesia, and Malaysia, promoting American products and American goods. And more recently, Governor of California, Schwarzenegger, asked me to be on his transition team. But nothing prepared me for this evening when I accepted the task to introduce today's speaker. How many of you are getting ready for midterm? So I had to get this book from Professor Kaku, and I started reading diligently. And it is very important and insightful, but a slow read. And Professor, so I'm going to quote him. He talks about human consciousness, and our consciousness on page 46 is calling level 3 consciousness, which allows us to simulate the future. He says human consciousness is a specific form of consciousness that creates a model of the world, then simulates in time by evaluating the past to simulate the future. This requires mediating and evaluating many feedback loops in order to make a decision to achieve a goal. As I thought about this thing, I wanted to share with this audience, as a technology entrepreneur who was lucky to travel around the world, and the changes that I have seen with my own eyes, not any other data, with my own eyes around the world in the 40 years, I'm deeply optimistic about the future, both of North America and the world at large. I served President Clinton for 4 years in his Export Advisory Council. Recently, I saw him on a talk show, and he said something interesting. He says, don't confuse the headlines with the trend lines. So from the region I come of Pakistan and Middle East, you see a lot of bombs blowing up. All these things would be gone if you look at the level of education. How many of you know this young lady, Malala? I saw her interview on Jon Stewart's show. 16, I was humbled how clear, how articulate she was, and how she wanted to deal with the conflict in the region. When I left Pakistan, for women to go into engineering or medicine or any other field, they were quota system. 10%, so many seats and everything. Today, in every major discipline, engineering, law, accounting, business, medicine, not only they're topping the class, they're majority of the class. And it's not just true in Pakistan. In so many developing countries, my deep belief is that this century belongs to them. And everything I want to do is to enable and empower the women around the world. On top of the second thing coming from technology is this device. With the camera, it is going to bring more transparency. So whether I'm a political leader or a religious leader or business leader, if I say one thing and do something, somebody from this audience somewhere will capture me and I will get caught. The transparency will come over many years. So between the rulers and the rule, we will have more transparency, more accountability. UTA did two big things for me. It gave me a good education, and it did another thing for me. Can any of you guess what that is? I found my future spouse and the only thing common between our main speaker and myself is that both of our spouses come from Japan. And recently I started going back to college to learn Japanese so I can take the commands even better. As I was preparing for today, I took a lunch break and I went outside the Davis Hall. And as I was going back, I saw a little banner. And it says, "Welcome to the place of ambition of all sizes." And this is what I want to leave, that you are at a great institution with the leadership of President Karbari. You will go places at whatever time you choose. There is no timing to start something new or start a new career, new education. So, Professor Karbari, thank you for coming here, inviting thought leaders like today's. Today's presentation will be followed by questions that have been pre-submitted by UT Arlington students, and Professor Kaku will be answered that. Professor Kaku is the public face of Science Channel for more than 2.5 million Facebook followers. He's a man that needs no introduction. He's co-creator of string field theory, a branch of string theory. He continues Einstein's research for a new theory of everything, seeking to unify the four fundamental forces of the universe: strong force, the weak force, gravity, and electromagnetism. He received his Bachelor of Science degree summa cum laude in physics from Harvard in '68. He earned his PhD in physics from University of California. Dr. Kaku holds the Henry Sematt Chair, Professorship in Theoretical Physics at the City College of New York, where he has taught for 30 plus years. He's also been a visiting professor at the Institute of Advanced Study at Princeton, as well as Harvard and New York University. Dr. Kaku's effort to popularize science has made him quite a celebrity. Over the years, he has appeared on Fox News, ABC, BBC, radio and television, Discovery, CNN, and History Channel, among many others. He also hosts a number of radio programs such as Science Fantastic and Exploration in Science with Dr. Kaku. Dr. Kaku is also an accomplished author of more than 70 articles published in physics journals and author of 3 New York Times best-selling books. His latest book, The Future of Mind, this particular book that he would be available to sign, hit #1 on New York Times, Amazon, and Barnes & Noble bestseller list, making it the first ever hardcover nonfiction book in the country. Very recently, he was voted 100 smartest people in New York by New York Magazine. On behalf of all of us, I want to congratulate you. As an entrepreneur, I deal with other young entrepreneurs who are always in a hurry. So one young, aggressive entrepreneur got lucky and got in front an audience with God. So he asked God, "God, what is 1,000,000 years to you?" And God says, "It's just like a second." Then he asked the second question, "God, what is $1,000,000 to you?" God says to me, $1,000,000 is just like a penny. He hesitates for a few seconds and says, "God, can I borrow a penny?" And God replied, "He will be back in a second." I would not want you to wait for 1,000,000 years to the main speaker.